BlackRock files prospectus for spot Ether ETF. The asset management giant last week registered the iShares Ethereum Trust and via NASDAQ sought approval from the SEC for the new vehicle. Feels like the crypto winter might legitimately be over. At the time that I'm filming this, Bitcoin's around 37K, ETH sitting above 2K, Solana and other altcoins are ripping the faces off bears. And yes, I get it, for a while there, crypto was ripping. Then it all kind of came crashing down and everyone's like, oh, it was a scam, it was a rug. But now we're seeing life in the core, most popular crypto coins and tokens. And a lot of this was spurred by the fact that there was rumblings, and now it seems to be a bit more apparent that a Bitcoin spot ETF will be approved. And the reason this is so important is just because not only does it give some regulatory clarity, but it literally opens the door. It's highway on-ramps for big money, particularly Wall Street and retirement accounts, to get exposure to Bitcoin if they so choose, rather than maybe not wanting to deal with the complexity of like getting their own wallets, figuring out the exchanges. It's just a more reasonable avenue for people to get into Bitcoin. And now we're seeing popularity in other crypto, this time Ethereum. BlackRock, ticker symbol BLK, the world's largest asset manager, has filed an S-1 form with the US SEC for the iShares Ethereum Trust, a spot Ether exchange-traded ETF. This move follows last week's corporate registration of the name that the NASDAQ's filing of a 19B4 with the SEC seeking approval for the spot ETF. So we've been hearing a lot about this with Bitcoin. They're basically saying we're going to do that, but this time with Ethereum. Along with several other asset managers, BlackRock currently is awaiting word from the SEC on listing a spot Bitcoin ETF that could open up average investor access to crypto dramatically. So obviously just more exposure to money, that makes sense. I mean, think about retirement accounts in the US alone. We're talking in excess of $10, $12 trillion. So even if a fraction of a percent ends up in crypto, that's just more demand, with, depending on what you're talking about, potentially the same amount of supply, so price would naturally go up. But I would argue even more importantly is the fact that with the regulatory clarity, that allows Wall Street to get more involved. So that's some major things that I'm personally paying attention to. I'm interested to see how this goes, just because it seems like Gary Gensler, the current chairman of the SEC, is doing everything in his power to just really crush crypto. It's the same guy who multiple times met with Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX, kind of said nothing, did nothing. We don't know what he knew. We don't know what he didn't know. We know that he met with them multiple times, and we know they officially got connected back in his MIT days. Both SBF and Gary Gensler were at MIT. So I think there's some very fair questions there that should be answered. But overall, the current leadership of the regulators as it relates to the world of crypto, in my humble opinion, this is just like absolutely dismal. They are not being transparent. They're not being logical. It's getting to the point that judges are even starting to look at it and be like, dude, like, what is your possible reasoning here? So hopefully with the new regime on the political side, that maybe we get the next person in there who's a bit more reasonable to both Wall Street and retail, because at this point, you have to do a lot of work to be an SEC chairman and to get everyone to unanimously dislike you. It's impressive, not necessarily in a good way, but an impressive feat nonetheless. So obviously, fingers crossed for even the short and the long term for just a little bit more clarity so people can know the rules and the regulations of the game that we are currently in.